Morning everyone. In today's video, we shall try to understand half of this chapter, New Kings and Kingdoms. It is the second of your history book, and in this chapter we shall be discussing about the time frame of AD 700 to 1200. As we already got in the previous chapter about the medieval period, and also we discussed that the medieval period can be classified into two types, early medieval period and the later medieval period. So in this chapter we shall try to understand about the different dynasties, about the different rulers who ruled our country from 700 to 1200 AD. The period roughly beginning from 700 to 1200 AD is known as the early medieval period in India. It was already explained in the first chapter of your history that the time frame from 700 to 1200 AD in India is known as the early medieval period. And during this period, different foreign powers and one after the other were attempted to occupy the country. During the early medieval period, different Hindu rulers as well as the Muslim rulers, they tried to conquer our country, and about those rulers we shall study in this chapter. In your first video, that is in this video, we shall try to understand about the Hindu rulers, and in the next video, that is the rest of this chapter, I shall explain you about the Muslim rulers. Now, the first dynasty that we are going to discuss here is about the Gurjara Pratiharas. The Pratihara dynasty, that's the first dynasty we are going to study. The Pratiharas ruled over Avanti and parts of southern Rajasthan in the beginning of the 8th century. These Pratiharas, they ruled over Avanti as well as different southern parts of Rajasthan in the beginning of the 8th century. And the founder of the Pratihara dynasty, it was Nagbhatta. I have shown you the picture. You can see the picture of Nagbhatta. He was the first great ruler of this dynasty, and even Nagbhatta, he was the founder of the Pratihara dynasty. Another important ruler of this dynasty was Mihir Bhoja. As you can see Mihir Bhoja in the picture here, Mihir Bhoja, he was also known as Raja Bhoja. He was the most powerful ruler. You can say the most powerful ruler of the Pratihara dynasty was Mihir Bhoja or Raja Bhoja. He was a devotee of Lord Vishnu, and he, that is Mihir Bhoja, he took the title of Adhivarha. So that's about the Gurjara Pratihara dynasties. The second dynasty that we are going to study here is about the Palas. The Palas, they ruled over Bengal and Bihar. Actually, the Pala rulers, they occupied mainly two parts of our country. One was Bengal, another one was Bihar, and they ruled almost for 4 centuries. For almost 400 rulers, the Palas, they ruled over Bengal as well as Bihar. Dharmapala and Devapala were great rulers of this dynasty. Dharmapala's picture you can see here, I have shown you. It was Dharmapala and Devapala. These two were the greatest rulers of the Pala dynasty. Dharmapala founded the famous Buddhist monastery of Vikramshila. I think you have heard about the monastery of Vikramshila. It is one of the very important and famous monastery of our country. As you can see in the picture of Vikramshila, it was very big in area, and it was founded by the Pala ruler Dharmapala. Devapala, the another ruler of the Pala dynasty, he built the famous Mahabodhi temple at Bodh Gaya. I think you have heard about Bodh Gaya, where Gautam Buddha he attained enlightenment, and there stands the Mahabodhi temple. You can see here in the picture, the Mahabodhi temple is shown here, and this famous Mahabodhi temple, it was built by the Pala ruler Devapala. Not only this, the Nalanda University. About Nalanda University we shall discuss in detail in some other chapter of your history. I have just tried to show you the picture of the Nalanda University here. It was one of the most famous university during that time, and this Nalanda University also became famous all over the world during their reign. Means during the Palas, the Nalanda University, it also became very much famous. That's about the Palas. The third dynasty that we are going to study now is about the Rashtrakutas. The Rashtrakutas, they belong to the Deccan. They ruled over the Deccan plateau. Danti Barman, as you can see in the picture, Danti Barman, he was also known as Danti Durga. He was the founder of this dynasty. Danti Barman or Danti Durga, he was the founder of the Rashtrakuta dynasty. Another important rulers of this dynasty were Krishna I, Govinda III, Amokbarsha and Indra III, they were some other great rulers of this dynasty. They ruled for more than 300 years. These Rashtrakutas, they ruled over the Deccan for almost 300 years. And during the Rashtrakutas, Hinduism was the most powerful religion. We can say, as I already told you in the beginning of this chapter, all these different rulers, the Pratiharas, the Palas or the Rashtrakutas, they were mainly the follower of Hinduism. But though they were the follower of Hinduism, they were also tolerable about the other religions. Besides Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Jainism, these religions also were there during the Rashtrakutas. But the most important or the most popular religion was Hinduism. That's about the Rashtrakutas. Now we are going to study about one very important point of this chapter. That's about the tripartite struggle for Kannauj. You know, Kannauj, it was once the capital of Harshavardhan. Harshavardhan was one very famous ruler and it was the capital of Kannauj. And to control Kannauj means to have control all over the Ganga valley. And for that reason, to capture Kannauj, there was a struggle among three parties or three dynasties. Since the struggle was among three parties, and that's why that struggle was known as the tripartite. Tri means three, partite means parties. That means the struggle among three powers was known as the tripartite struggle. Let me tell you something about this. There was a struggle among three powers. What were the powers? The Palas, the Pratiharas and the Rashtrakutas. These three powers, the Palas, Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas, they fought from 780 to 910 AD. For this long time period, they were engaged in continuous wars for the control of Kannauj. First of all, there was a clash between the Pratihara ruler and the Pala ruler. The war started between the Pratihara ruler and the Pala ruler. The Pala ruler was defeated. First of all, for control of Kannauj, the Pratihara ruler and the Pala ruler, they fought. And in that fight or in that war, the Pala ruler was defeated. But at this stage, the Rashtrakuta ruler attacked Pratihara dynasty or the Pratihara territory. So you can see Palas were defeated. That means Kannauj was now under the control of the Pratiharas. But at the same time, the Rashtrakutas, that the third power, the Rashtrakutas, they attacked the Pratihara dynasty. Now, when the Rashtrakutas and the Pratiharas were engaged in the war, that chance was taken again by the Pala ruler. You can see it is written here. This chance was taken by the Pala ruler and Dharmapala captured Kannauj. So, when the Pratiharas and the Rashtrakutas were busy, the Pala ruler, Dharmapala, he attacked Kannauj and Kannauj went under the control of the Palas. Similarly, the attempt of the next Pratihara ruler to capture Kannauj was also foiled by the intervention of the next Rashtrakuta ruler. Like that, one after another, to control Kannauj, the war continued for almost 100 years among these three powers. Sometimes Pratiharas and Rashtrakutas they fought, sometimes Rashtrakutas and Palas fought, sometimes Pratiharas and Palas fought. Means this war, it continued among these three powers for almost 100 years or more than that. Because of these continuous wars, all the three powers exhausted their resources and decayed. And you know that wars are not at all good. And when these three powers were fighting with each other for control of Kannauj, their property, their wealth was exhausted, and slowly all the three dynasties were decayed and their place was taken by another dynasty. So that's about tripartite struggle for Kannauj. Well, now we are going to study about the last powerful Hindu rulers of our country. After them, the different Muslim conquerors, they invaded our country, and that's about the Rajputs. I hope you have heard about the name Rajputs. The period from the death of Harshavardhan to the conquest of northern India by the Muslim is called the Rajput period. That means the Rajput period is generally fixed. The timeline or is taken here, the death of Harshavardhan. About Harshavardhan and his time we shall study in the next chapter. After the death of Harshavardhan and till the conquest of the northern India by the Muslims. That means after Harshavardhan till the Muslims come. The time period is fixed 647 AD to 1192 AD. This time is generally fixed as the Rajput period. Now question may come. You may think, from where these Rajputs came? Are they the real inhabitants of our country, or they came from the different other countries? So, about the origin of the Rajputs, from where the Rajputs came, the different scholars, they have provided different theories or different definitions. I have taken here three definitions which had been provided by different scholars. The first one, according to Colonel Todd. Colonel Todd, he was the author of the famous book Annals of Rajasthan. If you read your book, it is there. Annals of Rajasthan, that famous book was written by Colonel Todd, and you can see his picture is given here. He said that the Rajputs are the descendants of the foreign tribes. Foreign tribes means, according to Colonel Todd, during different times, the Hunas, the Pratiharas, as it was already explained, they ruled our country, and these Rajputs, they are the descendants of these foreign tribes, and these definitions was forwarded by Colonel Todd. The second theory is given here by the scholars like Vedavyas and Gaurishankar Ojha. Vedavyas, as you can see in the picture, he was one scholar. Gaurishankar Ojha, he was also one scholar of that time. Even his picture you can see here. These two scholars, they said that the Rajputs were not the descendant of the foreign tribes, they were the descendants of the Kshatriya dynasty. I hope you know, in the Indian society, the caste was divided into four groups. That is the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. These were the four divisions of Indian society. And according to Vedavyas and Gaurishankar Ojha, the Rajputs, they belong to the Kshatriya dynasty. That was the belief of Vedavyas and Gaurishankar Ojha. Yet another theory was provided, and that theory was known as the Agnikul theory. According to the Agnikul theory forwarded by Chand Bardoi, this Agnikul theory was forwarded by Chand Bardoi. Chand Bardoi, he was also one good writer. He wrote one book. The name of the book is Prithviraj Raso, about Prithviraj Chauhan. He wrote that book. You can see the picture of Chand Bardoi here. I have shown you. And according to him, the Rajputs, or the major clans, the major four clans of the Rajputs, they sprang up from the yajna performed at Mount Abu by the Brahmans. Actually, I think you have heard about Parshuram. Parshuram, he killed or he threatened all the Brahmans, and to protect the Brahmans, the Brahmans, they performed one yajna. I hope you know yajna, what is the meaning of this. By reciting some mantras, the Brahmans, they light the fire and they worship the gods or goddesses. That's the meaning of yajna, and that yajna was performed at Mount Abu by the Brahmins to save them from Parshurama. And from that yajna, from the fire of the yajna, four heroes came out. What were they? The Chauhans, the Parmars, the Pratiharas, and the Chalukyas. These are the four major clans of the Rajputs. So Chand Bardoi said that according to his theory, that is Agnikul theory, the Rajputs, they are not the descendant of the foreign tribes, even they are not the descendant of the Kshatriya dynasty, but their clans sprang up from the yajna performed at Mount Abu by the Brahmins. So that about the different theories which had been forwarded about the origin of the Rajputs. So that's about all this chapter. Means half of this chapter we have discussed about the Gurjara Pratiharas, their founder, their powerful rulers. We have discussed about the Palars, who founded it, what were their contribution. We have discussed about the Rashtrakutas. We have studied about the tripartite struggle, why it was fought, how it was fought, what was the result of it, and we have discussed about the Rajputs as well as their origins, that is origin of the Rajputs. After going through all these points, you need to read out the chapter, you need to underline the points, important points. If any doubt is there, you can get it cleared. In the second part of this video, I shall be telling you about the Muslim rulers, how the Muslims came, who was the first one to come our country, who was the real founder of the Muslim empire in India. All these things we are going to discuss in the next chapter, next video. Well, this is the time for your homework. You can see here I have given 4 questions and all the answers are there in your book. You need to read the book to find out the answers. You may not get the answers from the video, but answers are there in the book. You go through it and find out the answers. The first question is, what is the meaning of Matsanyana? Second question is, who built the rock-cut Kailasa temple at Ellora? The third one is, write a short note on the tripartite struggle. And the last one is, explain in your own words about the origin of the Rajputs. This question number 3 and question number 4 are long answers. Question number 1 and question number 2 are short answers. So after going through the video, after reading the chapter, complete the homework and send it to me in time. Thank you very much.